Hi and welcome to Back to the Tactics board with Edge of Play. In today's video, we're looking at the 2-1-3-1-1 formation for 9-a-side. We'll look at some of the strengths and some of the issues you may face when using this formation. Here the players are then in the formation. We're going to go through the features of this system first of all. Well, first of all, you can see quite unusually you have 5 lines of the team. So it's got a lot of horizontal depth as you look through. It's got a strong central spine if you look into there. Obviously the players, if they stood in a straight line, that's not so great because the ball can be played easily through that. But as players naturally move to put pressure on the ball, to put good support positions, before you know it, you've got a lot of gaps closed off, and you're going to make it very difficult for a player to thread the ball through. It might get past the first line and the second line, maybe the third. You expect at some point there that ball's getting intercepted. So you can shut down balls through that area of the pitch in this system. I'd say one of the key things here is the number 8, as I've got it here. Your attacking midfielder could largely be given a free role. You've got the 6 players, outfield players there, plus your goalkeeper. You'll probably have more defensive duties. So you'll be looking at your 8 to get on the ball. But they're going to be key really to this system working, I would argue, because if they can't make the ball stick and they can't get on the ball in these areas to give the wide midfielders a chance to get up the pitch and support the play, then you may struggle to get forward and stay forward in a game and control the game. But this can be great for your attacking midfielder if they have the ability and they have the character really to go and get on that ball in tight areas and do quality work. Then this system can really work. As well as linking up with your centre forward, the players looking to get on the ball and release balls into channels for your arriving wide midfielders as well. It can also be good from this position as well for players to make runs from deep, not just receiving it in the hole, but starting in that area and then making runs in behind a line. Very hard to track. You can get up your head of speed before the defender can react to that. If you're playing against an offside line, then this can be really effective too, whereas the number 9 might be running off the actual line, off the shoulder, so taking that risk of being offside with the runs. For number 8, they can make the run, ball gets played now, and you're beating that offside trap. Having these 3 layers to the midfield, a defensive midfielder, a central midfielder, maybe box to box, and your attacking midfielder, you're taking away some of the confusion you may have in a 2 midfield, a flat midfield. Which one is defending and which one's attacking? What's your role and what's your role? So I think with this, you have a very clear role for your number 4. They're the holding midfielder. They want to get on the ball and build possession. They want to be shutting down opponents' space, trying to protect the back 2, cutting off balls that are played through these gaps in these little passing lane traps. Your box to box midfielder, up and down, high energy, get back, work with number 4, get on the ball, nice angles of support to build possession, come back and work with them as well to defend. 4 will sometimes have to drop in here, maybe dragged away, and it might be a 5 job then to drop into midfield, into that space in front of the defence. And then your attacking midfielder, like I've mentioned, gets to do the creative work in an attacking sense, finding those spaces, getting on the ball, showing their technical prowess, to release passes to number 9, to allow support to arrive from the wide areas. Each of these midfield roles have their own unique characteristics that are going to be well suited to them, so you can really kind of choose a player and give them that experience in the deep midfield role. They're going to have certain requirements they're going to have to fulfil, certain strengths which will come to the fore in that position, and it's slightly different than for your number 5, your box to box, or your number 8 again. So you can be very much giving players a very different game experience in those 3 midfield positions. I think pressing could be quite effective in this formation as well. If an opponent's in this corner here and we're going to look to press that, I think one of the good things is this: if it's timed well, this movement from the 7 here to get on that ball, almost kind of be in this position, but as the ball is played across, to be timing that movement to put pressure from here. You've then got your number 9, could be putting the pressure on from the side, and your attacking mid can be in that nice angle off the number 9 shoulder. So before you know it, you can have these different angles of approach to the player on the ball, making it very difficult. And because you've got that layered midfield, 5 can be picking up an angle, could be this one here to intercept anything that's played through this gap here, and then your 4 can therefore be on this one here. So you're almost saying where you're going to find your pass, because we're going to read that with our layered midfield and jump on it. The risk, of course, which I'll go on to more in challenges, is that if the ball's playing to this channel here, you're going to have to drag your central defender on the right side out of there. Let's look at some of the challenges then in this system. Well, first of all, you've only got 2 defenders. And so in a 9-a-side game, they have a large area to cover of the pitch to get across, especially for teams switching the play. You'd expect them to have to be strong in one-on-ones, good at dealing with overloads. I would think just the sheer amount of ground they have to cover, they have to be quick, or at least mobile, moving around the pitch, able to change direction and get across, cut things off and slow and delay an opponent down until support can get back from your 4 and your 5 and then your wide midfielders. You could lack advanced width in this system. That we're expecting a lot of work from your wide midfielders. You know, they're going to have to be getting back to help out, especially if you're playing against a team who have a lot of advanced width to get back and support or tuck into midfield. And then you've also got to regain possession. You might be part of the build-up, but then you need to be getting forward too. After, you know, your 8 and 9 are getting on the ball, you need this kind of diamond of support. You need these options either way to keep that attack going, to make it find the gaps that you need. So it is a lot of work involved for these wide midfielders. If you look at the way they're linking up, they're going to be working with the defence sometimes, your deep midfielder. So they're very much offering the width for everybody, making these diamonds of support in each different unit as they work their way up the pitch. So if these players can't get up the pitch quickly enough and then they haven't got the right physical characteristics to do that for a full game, these areas could be pretty empty for you. And if you haven't got that to aim for, an opponent can compact the play. They can send you into this middle area and be right on their touch, make it very difficult for you. So while you're expecting your 9 to make the channel runs, you might do that initially. Of course, then you haven't got anything here. But that could be something you do whilst the other players are working their way up the pitch to drag a team around, to stretch them, and then they find their way back to that centre forward position. It could be your 8 makes these big movements, and that occasionally will be a good thing, like I mentioned earlier, beating off side traps, running from deep. But your issue may be then if 5's been dragged back, you know, to defend, which they will do, and your team are in a kind of defensive situation. If 8 vacates the area as well, it can be very difficult. You have to find a very good pass to make it for number 8 to get on it. I'd say, whilst I mentioned it can be good for pressing this formation, if your winger or your wide midfielder puts pressure on the ball with your attacking mid and with your striker, and the whole team then like shifts across, trying to send the ball perhaps down the line. You know, if a team do manage to get out, you are probably prone to switches of play because you've only got a defensive unit of 2 at the back. And whilst it's great having this layered midfield, because they're kind of in a vertical line as opposed to horizontally together, number 4 shifting across has got a long way to go to cover that space. And you're relying on your other wide midfielder to tuck into midfield quickly enough to shut down the midfield. So you could actually be exposed to switches of play against certain opponents. And it wouldn't just be to switches of play, just in general play as well. The team gets on the ball, you're going to have to work out how you're going to deal with balls and opponents in these areas. So is the job of the 4 to drop in, like I mentioned earlier, and 5 to drop in, and 8 to drop in, and the midfield kind of work their way back. So when the defence shift across, they have that cover and support still. Or is it that you're expecting your wide midfielders to get back, you know, straight away, and the far winger to drop into midfield? Either way, these players need to know what's expected of them. You'll need to be very clear on that, who is dealing with the wide attacker. It can be fine if your defender's strong in those situations, as I mentioned already, but then what's the other defender expected to do? Are they getting across to here? In which case, any ball over to this side could be a danger for you. So clear defensive responsibilities for all your players in each given situation will be important, because they're not in a common formation. It's an unusual one, which can be really great and unpredictable for an opponent, but it needs to be predictable for your team. So you'd have to be very clear on who is expected to do the defensive work in which area of the pitch. I'd say as well with this depth, the issues could be if players aren't making the necessary movements. You know, if the defensive midfielder's getting it and they've got this straight pass option and players actually stood behind each other, so almost cutting off themselves for balls to them, then it doesn't work. You know, you need players to be making movements all the time, reacting to the positioning of the ball. If 5's making this movement for 4, is 8 doing the opposite movement here, which then still opens up the possibility of the ball into your striker. So yeah, you'll be looking very much at the movement of your midfielders to make the correct angles to allow you to build possession, to attack productively. Thank you for watching this formation video. I do hope you found it useful. For more videos for 5-a-side, 7-a-side, 9-a-side and 11-a-side formations, go to the tactics section at www.edgeofplay.com.